Hey, hello out there. Just getting set up here and ready for our power hour here. Can you hear me? I hope so. If you can hear me, just put in the chat that everything's cool and everything's going good. All right, we got Kevin, Cheryl, and Marie who are on. Cool. Marcus Red Thunder. Hey, brother. It's good to see you, man. When we're gonna get on here and tell some stories, brother? Just share some stories for the people. Some good stories, funny stories. Kevin's on here. Awesome. Just getting started here. Yesterday we had a conversation on our favorite holiday beverage or our favorite holiday food, and mine was hot chocolate, dark hot chocolate. So my wife made me a cup of hot chocolate. So I'm going to be on here slurping the whole time. Yeah, Marcus, we'll get on here soon, man. Anybody else, we should just have a totally storytelling session on here. Hey, so welcome everybody. My name is Gene Tagaban. I'm with the Native Wellness Institute, and this is our power hour, and this is just basically our response to the pandemic and everything that's closed down, because you know, our people are out there hurting, and we just wanted to do something. And when this all started, we felt that our hands were tied, and we really weren't sure what we were going to do. So as the board of the Native Wellness Institute, we came up with this to provide something every day. So we're on every weekday at noon, and I think we're on week program 38, something like that, 40, and this is like the 240th program, something around there. You know, we only thought that we might be going like 2 months, but here we are, and I think this is going to be a regular ongoing thing. And so going to get going here, and yeah, and today I'm just going to be talking about nature connection. But before we even get that going, man, I just want to as people are coming on, I just want to share with you a little bit of music, a little bit of vibration here. So just a little bit of breath, get the spirit going. And plus, that's just one way that helps me get grounded. And so one thing I'd like to share with you too is I was just wondering about being our gratitude and thankfulness. You know, this morning here, my name is Gene Tagaban. I'm of the Duck-Dainton Raven Freshwater Sockeye Clan from Hoona, Alaska. Child of a Wishkatan Eagle Shark Clan. I'm Cherokee, Tlingit, and Filipino. And one thing I'm really grateful for is my heritage of who I am. And the ancestors. You see, the ancestors have dreamt me into existence, and here I am. And the ancestors have dreamt you into existence, and here you are. And that's a beautiful thing, man. And they struggled, they fought, you know, and they sang for us, they prayed for us. I'm really thankful for my ancestors. How about you? And right now I'm talking to you from the land of the Coast Salish people, the Puyallup people. in this community they call Tahoma, and in the township of Ruston, Washington. And I'm grateful for the ancestors of this place, because you see, place holds memory, place holds spirit. And as I walk out on the lands in this area of the Coast Salish, sometimes I just feel that, and I can't help but feel that, especially when I'm next to the water. I feel that spirit of the land, of the place. How about you? And now at days out here, and I look outside, it was clear and sunny this morning, but the clouds are starting to come in. And this morning as I walk outside, I can see my breath. And it just, that acknowledgement of breath reminds me of just to keep breathing. And also that as I'm walking outside on the ground is crunchy because everything's frozen out there. You know, and I really love that crunchy, that coldness, that crispness, you know, because I go outside, I don't bundle up with a jacket on or anything. I just want to feel that cold. I'm really grateful for that weather and the cold and the changes in the seasons. You know, how about you? You know, and family this year, time of season of the year, and I'm just grateful for my family. I haven't been able to go up to Alaska to see my family. I'm not willing to take the chance of going through airports and risking myself catching anything or jumping on me, whatever it is. Not only of this virus or whatever, but even bad energy, man. Even negative energy. I don't even want to take negative energy into the presence of my family, my elders, and those people. And so I'm really conscious and aware of that. And so how about you? How about you? And so many things I just want to say is like all those people who are coming on too, you know, it's really good to see your names. Some of you I haven't seen you in a long, long time. I saw, you know, Kelly, my, you know, consider her a sister. I haven't seen you in such a long time. Hey, Kelly, you know, and much love to you and your family. You know, your family and your daughters are beautiful, beautiful, you know, and so many people out there. And so I'm just grateful for all those people who I have had the honor to work with, you know. And so it's you know, how about you? What about those people in your family, you know, or your circles, you know? And it's just that gratitude that, you know, just want to send out there as we get started here in just this short moment. And today I'm just here to talk to you about nature connections. There's some core routines, and it's one of those things about developing these core routines, because how many of us can actually like drive a car? I know some of you are questioning yourself. You know, that can kind of be iffy, but some of us can like really, you know, we could drive a car, but did we learn how to drive a car? No, right from the get-go. No, we had to practice. We had to sit there and create a routine. Put my hands on the steering wheel. You know, sometimes at like 2 and 10 o'clock, you know, whatever, both hands on the steering wheel. Some of us, you know, had to like just, you know, learn how to turn the steering wheel. Some of us, like myself, we actually learned how to work the clutch. And I had the 3 on the tree. That's the vehicle I had to learn how to. And so I had to learn how to ease off of the clutch and put my foot down on the pedal to move forward. And oftentimes the truck would buck back and forth, and my dad would be sitting next to me and he'd just be laughing, you know, and say, okay, try it again. And after a while of just that becoming a routine, and then of how to push the clutch and shift it, I learned how to drive a truck with a clutch. I grew up playing basketball too. And playing basketball, you know, I first had to like just grab the ball and hold the ball and form a relationship with the ball and form a relationship with that ball. I had to like learn how to dribble it, bounce it up and down, one hand, left hand. And I had to learn how to shoot. At first, when I learned how to shoot, I was pushing it up with 2 hands. And then I watched and I studied other people who did it really well. You know, I remember growing up watching Downtown Freddie Brown here in Seattle. Oh, I loved the way he shot with that one hand, just from way out there, you know, dribbling like Slick Watts out there, you know, and learning how to dribble and just learning these routines and these fundamentals, learn how to play defense. And after a while, I was just out there. These things became second nature to me. How to do a bank shot. And I remember this one time I was going up there to do a jump shot and do a bank shot or take a shot, and big Paramore was like 6'11", just right in front of me. There's no way to get a shot off to the basket. But off to on my peripherals, I saw the open backboard. And so in midair, just adjusted, laid it up there on the backboard and down in. Now that took a lot of time, a lot of practice, of routines, core routines. I just want to say is I was fortunate enough to grow up in Alaska, Southeast Alaska. And in growing up in Southeast Alaska, I saw a glacier every day. No, I wasn't appreciative of that until later on in my life. I grew up climbing trees, throwing rocks, skipping rocks, throwing sticks into the rivers, making forts and making rafts. And in my life too, just the nature of where I lived at, I was always running into deer, into bear. We had some wolves out there, coyotes out there. Always seeing eagles and ravens flying in the sky, blue jays, magpies every once in a while, hummingbirds, a lot of frogs. I got to the point where you could just notice that there's a lump in the dirt, and you knew that there was a frog under there, or a toad. There's a toad under there. And I got to a point where I was able to spot these few things. Took a look at tracks, learned these tracks. And so things became a routine of just observation out there, observation and awareness. And it's one of those things when we start taking a look at the world instead of from this perspective, we start opening it up. And it's this thing what we call owl eyes. Start taking a look with our peripherals. For instance, like right now, or what somebody said, what about the hairy man? Yeah, that's a whole totally another story. When I was around 9 years old, of seeing this being called a hairy man out there, but that's a whole nother story, and maybe I'll share that later. But try this right now. Everyone, take your hands and just look like this, and it's kind of tunnel vision. And many times in our lives, we just go and we see the world just like this through tunnel vision. And then when we say like owl eyes, it's like when we open it up even more, and start using our peripherals. And start reaching your hands out. Reach your hands out as far as you can. Forward, see the peripherals, and then just put them back, and how far we can see them. And oftentimes when we're out there, I grew up when I was Southeast Alaska trying to spot whales. I actually had a job spotting whales. I would sit on the boats and scopes, and that was my job, to spot whales, to spot bears, to spot the killer whales, sea lions, wildlife for those people. And I always said it was one of those things of my elder taught me, and it was Donawak, Austin Hammond. He always talked about the joy of seeing his land through the eyes of visitors. The joy of seeing the land of the Tlinket Ani through the eyes of visitors. And so I had this year, my work was to spot wildlife. And in order to really spot it, I had to look through the peripherals, looking all around. But then when I did spot something off in the distance, that's when I went like, really focused in on it. Really focused in on it. That's just walking through life like this. But then when you see something that's like that you like, you focus in on it. Just like a new car. Ruby and I are thinking about getting a new car, and and now it's like the car that we're selected. We didn't really see it around that often, but now it's like this car that we're choosing to we're looking at. Now we see them everywhere, and it's a new awareness. And so even with this nature connection too, and this awareness, it's like we all have this. It's in our DNA. It's in our DNA. But sometimes we just need to wake up that awareness and our way of seeing the world, the way of seeing things. For instance, if I had everyone put your hand in front of you and tell me, what do you see? And some of you will say, oh, I see the background, I see maybe trees back there. For me, I see the screen, the computer, I see some of my instruments, I see my notes and a few things out there. But oftentimes people, we say, it's very few of us who say, oh, I see my fingers, I see my hand, I see the lines in my hand. And now that some of you who have just done this, and you're taking a look, and you didn't first see the hand, you noticed everything between the fingers. Now forevermore, because you know, and your brain has processed this, the first thing you'll always see when you do this exercise is the hand. Because your brain is boom, 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 that quick. Always processing, always wanting to learn, always taking in information. But, just like playing basketball, driving the car, tying my shoe, riding a bike, research, learning, we have to train our brains, our minds, our beings, and get into routines, healthy routines, wellness routines, and whatever that is. I myself, I'm working on that all the time. And so one of the things is I want to share with you some nature connection core routines to get into. I was just on a workshop yesterday with a grief, loss and healing workshop. And many times when we're on here with the Native Wellness Institute, it's not necessarily we're like teaching you anything new. We're just reminding you things that you already know. We're just those reminders. And so a young lady, I was talking about going out for walks, taking deep breaths, especially when that cold air that you're out here, going next to the water, and we're showed even pictures of the water and waterfalls. And at the end, we asked individuals, like, what is it that you learned? Or what is it that you picked up? And she says, I just was reminded that I always like to go out for walks, and it really helped me so much. Thank you for reminding me. And I've heard that so many times of going out for walks, going out on the trail, going to the water, going amongst the trees, listening to the birds. You see, in our fundamental beliefs as indigenous people, tribal people, and I believe that we're all tribal people. If we go back far enough in our lineage, we all come from tribes. We all come from the earth. We all come from the land. And it doesn't matter if you're white, you're black, you're native, or you're Asian, or whoever you are. When you put your footprint on this earth, the earth accepts you the same way as it would anybody else. It doesn't care if you're rich, you're poor, you're male, you're female, or you're religious, non-religious, Muslim, whoever you are. The earth accepts you the same as everyone else. And that earth also accepts the print, the track of the deer. The earth also accepts the print of the bear, the mouse, the ladybug, the snake, even the salmon. The earth accepts it. And you see, the land and the earth are healers. And so many times we tell stories about, oh, I went down to the river and it felt so good. Oh, I needed that. Or I got caught in a storm. I was on the beach and the storm and the wind and the energy that was there and just cleansed me. Oh, it felt so good. I really needed that. Or the warmth of the sun. We're going on vacations, especially those from the Pacific Northwest. We're always going on vacations to sunny places to take in the sun, because we need that sun to sit out in nature on the beach because we need it. Oftentimes we go climb and hike a mountain just because we want to be out there in nature because we need that. Oftentimes or just be in the water. One of the traditional practices of the people of the Pacific Northwest and the Tlingit people was to go into the water. Slowly, mindfulness, submerge yourself in the cold, cold water. And it's healing, and there's so many health benefits to that. And I got to do that. I got to do that. You know, that used to be a common practice of mine. You know, I'd go down to the water almost daily, down to the Nisqually River, go into the river, or go into the Coast Salish Seas here, which it's cold. And that was a daily practice. I've gotten away from that. I've gotten away from that routine, and I need to do that for my own personal wellness and my own personal health. So that's a routine I got to get back on. I'm always out there in the woods, or sitting out with the trees, because it was one of those things that my uncle, he says, the trees hold a remembering. If you want to remember, go to the trees and ask the questions. You know, and so it's so nature. But so many of us, we've gotten caught in this here modern society, and we've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from that connection. And sometimes we think that we have to go on this big long hike, or we have to go on this adventure, or a vacation to get connected up with nature. But if we just walk out our front door, even if we're within the cities, nature is always there. Nature is always there. If we take a look at the world like this, instead of looking like this, nature is always present. If we just take the time to look and listen, and to also feel, using all our senses to smell and to taste, as well. There's more senses than that. We'll get into that later. So one of the things with our core routines is that I want to encourage you to do is just to go out there and sit. Just to go out there and sit. Or just to go out there and stand just for 5 minutes in a spot. And make it, you know, and just take a look and listen. Listen. Look around. Not only in the trees and the sky, but even on the ground. You know, and to feel the warmth and what kind of sensations are coming inside of you. The smell and even the taste. The air has taste. Believe me, I'm here in Tacoma, Washington, and sometimes that air, it just gets, you know, there's this thing, it's called the Tacoma aroma. Everyone will drive by through Tacoma, and you know that you're in Tacoma because you always smell the pulp mills and everything, but there's still residual taste and smell that's still that's in the area. So it's like it's always there, but open up your senses, and just to, even if it's 5 minutes, and then make that into 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and expand it to like 20, 30 minutes. That's all you need to do a day. Take a chair out there just to sit, and just take that time for yourself, and make that a routine. So out here, just in my backyard here, or this year, one of the spots that I like to sit out and watch is actually out in the front. But now, especially lately, I'm going out back because with my dogs, and I hang out there. And there's all these chickadees, all these little birds around, you know, and they all gather up in our trees. And you can really see them now because the leaves are falling onto the ground. And I really notice them, not first with sound, but I really notice first by all the droppings underneath those trees. And I was wondering, wow, so I own awareness. I saw the world like this to like this, saw the droppings. And then I started looking for those little birds. Where are they at? And to be honest with you, the first one to notice them was my dog. My dog was always, when those little birds would come, her awareness just went, her ears would go up. She was looking. And I was like going, Annie, there they are. And so we just sat there, you know, it's becoming a morning routine for us. Me and my dog out there watching the birds. And I'll get to a point where I had the experience of being up in Alaska, and I had a spot where I always like to go and sit. And the swallows would fly by. And during the nesting time, it wasn't just a few of them, it was hundreds of them. And when they're building their nests, they're carrying debris, branches, sticks, leaves, moss, grass, back and forth to the nesting spot. And I would sit there. And it got to a point where they got used to me sitting there. And when I just sat there just to be part of the environment and learn and watch, they started crossing right in front of me, about that close to my face, back and forth. And I thought, what would happen if I stuck my arm out? Are they going to hit it? I said, I'm going to try it. So I stuck my arm out, and they started to fly up and over, and I could feel them over my arm. Then I put two arms out. You know, and at first they would fly at a distance, but they got used to me being part of the environment. And not only that, but they got used to because when you're out there and you're sitting next to a tree, and I know you've had this experience, you just become connected to everything else around you. And what is going on in this world today is that we're so disconnected from everything around us that we're separate. When we walk into the woods, everything sees us as a separate entity. We're not part of anything. We're separate. Because as human beings, we've lost that connection. And we see it going on in the world with the climate, with the climate change, with the pollutions, and everything that's going on. We've become separate. So how can we become connected again? It's there within us. But it's about just taking the time to just go out there and this thing we call sit spot. Find a spot just to sit. Not do anything, but just to be. Just to be. And just to watch and observe. And see how the animals and everything around you reacts to you. Learn about the ground, the earth, the moss, maybe the grass that's below you, the trees that are around you, the air, the wind. What direction is it in? Hi, Jewel. So Jewel is an elder, and she's asking me to get the volume a little bit higher. Is that better? Can you guys hear me better? Jewel? And so, and Jewel's an elder, and so I wanted to honor that and respect Jewel's wishes here. And so with that, I'll speak a little bit louder as well. So how can we get connected with it instead of being separate? And just find a place to sit and be. And maybe at the most, just spend 30 minutes out there. And after a while, that will be your spot. We call it the sacred silence, sit spot. And just be out there. And so that's one. And then, as you keep going on, it's about, I've already talked about expanding your senses. Expanding your senses. Instead of looking at the world like this, look at the world like this. See it like this. And I want you to try something. And everyone just rub your hands together like this. And then you gotta make the sound too. All right. Now don't touch your hands. But like that. And just feel the sensation between your two hands. There might be a warmth, there might be a tingle in there. It might be something that you might just try to put them together, but it's like that magnet that keeps each other separate. And so it's like that. You have that energy, and what that is, that is that energy. Some people call it the mana, or that chi. It's that energy that's there. So this is something I want you to try to attempt to expand your senses to a place where you use that energy. And if you see a bird in the distance, or you're walking through a park, you see a deer, actually imagine using that energy of reaching out, and you see that deer, of giving it a scratch underneath the chin. You see an eagle flying above. Just imagine reaching up there with your energy, that energy, and your hand stroking down its back. Stroking down its back. Or the little bird, or even in the distance touching that tree. I love the feel of a cedar tree. And I can see why our ancestors figured that we can make clothes out of this, because the softness of that tree, you know, and that's that energy. You're receiving the energy back. And so that's like expanding our senses, part of that too. You know, and a part of this other nature connection too amongst the native people, the Tlingit people where I grew up as. I am of the Raven clan. And we have the eagle, then there's the bear, the wolf, killer whale. You know, we have the salmon, beaver clan, frog clans. But part of within our culture, our tradition is imitating animal forms. Because our animals were first our elders, weren't they? Didn't our ancestors learn from the animals, from the land themselves? Yeah. And so, take on those animal forms. And if you ever watch the raven move, how's that raven move? Or how's that bird move? Or even taking on that, imitating like that of even sometimes our dog just kind of goes. Or that bear. Or the wolf. It's interesting because the wolf, its senses, its smell is so keen. It's as if, can you imagine, as if how we could reach out and we touch things? We grab things. Like I can reach out, I can grab the sage right now. And the sage has a scent. But the wolf, its senses, its nose is so keen. I just imagine that wolf, as if it's with its senses of its smell, actually going out and reaching with the sense of its smell, reaching out and grabbing that scent and holding that scent. And learning from that scent. Its senses are so sharp that there's nothing, we can't even imagine it. We can try to imagine it, but taking on the animal forms. And even when I'm telling a story, sometimes I'm taking on the form of like frog. You know, but just to try it out. And what would happen if sometimes, what would happen if we're flying way, we see, how many of you ever have been walking out there? It's one of those things about awareness too. I was in New York, this big city, Times Square area. Or no, it was Wall Street area. That big bowl. If you've ever been there, there's a big bowl there. But I'm walking through and New York, and suddenly I'm always looking up, and I watched up there, and suddenly, maybe about 50 feet up, this red-tailed hawk just goes right through the buildings. And I'm just standing there, just like my eyes are going, whoa. And I'm looking around, did anybody else see that? Did anybody else see that? And after I saw that red-tailed hawk that one time in that city, I saw hawks everywhere. Everywhere within the city. And I kept going, did anyone see that? And there's this one time I was in Seattle. And I'm standing there in Seattle, and I'm looking up above, and soaring through the buildings was a bald eagle. Same thing. I'm going, does anybody see that? Oh my goodness. And my thing is like, I guess those who see it are the ones who need to see it. I guess. Part of it was like, I was like just going, I think everyone needs to see it. Because everyone's like walking around like this. Or everyone's walking around like this. And so, and that awareness is everywhere. This one time I was in Washington, D.C., and I was doing some work at the Native American Museum there. And I looked up just in time to see this red-tailed hawk just like, whap, boom, take out this dove, man, or this pigeon. And, poof, feathers, as soon as it hit that pigeon, poof, feathers, poof, flew up all over the place. The pigeon struggled a little bit, and this red-tailed hawk just like landed on a tree right above me. And I'm like just going, oh my goodness, did you see that? And I'm looking at everyone. Everyone's just walking by on the street, and this here whole drama is taken on right above us. And this red-tailed hawk is like just looking down, at this pigeon. Then it just lifts its head, then it looks over at me, and it's as if the red-tailed hawk is like going, man, did you see that? Yeah, that was bad. That was awesome, man. I got this pigeon. I'm not going to speak for the pigeon because the pigeon wasn't doing so well at the time. But just this red-tailed hawk just goes, boom, takes out this pigeon, and it starts to feed on this here pigeon. And I'm looking around, I'm going, did anyone see that? And I actually I showed people, I said, hey, check out that hawk right there. Wow, it just got a pigeon. Check out that hawk, it just got a pigeon. And everybody was going, oh my goodness, oh, that's disgusting, that's gross. Oh my, we got those things there, and they're like killing our pigeons. Please. Lack of awareness, people walking around like this, man. People walking around like this in their own little shells, disconnected. As that hawk was sitting there, the squirrel was in its home in the same tree. And the squirrel that morning just kind of like, you could tell the squirrel just kind of went, oh man, what's out there for this day? Oh my, popped his head out of this little hole. Stretched a little bit, looked around, said, oh man, all right, I got to go out and get some food. Oh, I'm going to take in some sunlight here first. But that hawk was in the branch right above it. As soon as that squirrel came out, the hawk went, whoosh, looked at it, checking it out. And then that hawk, just in an instant, like a second, boom, that fast, just like went down to get that hawk, that squirrel. And the squirrel looked up just in time, and I can imagine what he said in his mind. It was like, oh, crap. And went back down. The hawk didn't get it. The hawk didn't get it. So he went up and got his pigeon. But one thing I learned from the hawk. Try this. When you see a hawk flying up in the air, or a raven, or an eagle, or even a robin, or a chickadee, any bird form. But I'm going to start with a hawk. You see a hawk flying up in the sky above you. Imagine looking out through the eyes of that hawk. And what do you see? If Kelly's still on here, she'll know this individual. I remember a teacher of mine, his name is Chris Makua. And Chris would always talk to me about that. He's since passed on, but he'd go, you need to look through the eyes of the beings around you and see what you learn. Go see and look at yourself through the eyes of that tree. Look at yourself through the eyes of raven, eagle, or the blade of grass that you're about to step on. Look through the eyes of that blade of grass. at yourself and see what comes up for you. You know, and I've taken that practice in. So when you see that hawk flying above you, it could be any creature. It could be a deer looking at you, you know, or the mouse, or the blade of grass. But look through this creature's eyes and see what you see. And then go out and see if it's real. Then go out and see if it works. And so that's another core routine, is just through different perspectives, mind's eye imagining. And then after what you see, map it out. Draw a map of the area. Is it accurate? Is it accurate? Yeah. Map it out. And I want to encourage you each. One of the other core routines is mapping. Just in your neighborhood where you live or where you work. Lift yourself up, look down, and yes, you can do this. We have the ability, creativity, imagining, and vision. Lift yourself up above the area that you're at, look down, see everything around you, and then just take a journal. Just take a journal and map it out. Write it down. And then just go out and see how accurate it is. And keep doing this as a practice and see how accurate you get with new places. You go on vacation someplace, map it out. And this isn't just a core routine for awareness, but this is a survival way of surviving and taking care of yourself. Of taking care of yourself. Of learning the lay of the land where you're going. And do this with your kids too, so that they become all aware of the area, how to take care of themselves. Again, the lay of the land. If they get lost, how are you going to make your way back? Or you get disoriented, how are you going to get your way back? So teach them about mapping, about direction. If I asked you right now to point which direction is east, where the sun comes up, where you're sitting at right now, for me, it's like straight back this way. This way. The north, where the water is, where I'm at right now, that's north, right there. Teach your kids the directions, your connection out there. You know, and you know, I throw this out there that a sister or relatives out there question is a normal it's normal to actually see through the eyes of other creatures, always asking permission too. Yeah, and it's about being thankful too, asking permission, being thankful. And it's one of those things about gratitude too, about when we go out there, what I was taught, for instance, I get a feather right here, an eagle feather, and I always try to carry some food or tobacco, a sema, and placing that out there and just saying thank you. Instead of just taking, I'll place some tobacco down and just say thank you, that permission out there. And so mapping the area that you're around, that you have out there. And I'm just looking at some of the chats here. Telling time by the sun, and again, that's an awareness. Here we hit the sun. It's like we'll travel straight above us. Around noon, it's looking straight down. What directions are the shadows going? The shade? Are the shadows going in the shade there? One of the other core routines that I like to practice too is tracking. I love tracking. I love tracks. I love going out there and seeing just what came by. What's that track? We have a lot of raccoons around here, possums, a lot of deer. I have a teacher of mine who's up there in Alaska. He's a great storyteller. I hope that one day when I grow up that I can tell stories like this guy. And but he is he can't read. It's what nowadays people would say is illiterate, and people would judge that as less than, not capable of. And maybe in this Western world, we need certain skills, routines. But you place him out in the woods, and he sees tracks, and he sees, let's say, deer tracks. He'll jump off that boat, and he'll see deer on the beach, and he'll jump off that boat, and he'll be running as he's hunting, and he's running into the woods right after him. Most people would just go, oh, we just gotta take our time, be quiet. But no, he jumps off that boat, he starts sprinting at that deer, and that deer's off into the woods, boom, into the woods. And as soon as he's running on that beach, he starts running and is looking down. And what he's doing is reading those tracks. And as soon as he gets to the edge of the woods, of the forest, suddenly, my friend, he'll take like this one time he took a hard right. And how did he know to take that hard right? Because before that deer even took that hard right, it was setting itself up, and he saw it in the tracks. And as soon as he saw that deer, the track just plant and take that hard right. As soon as it broke the plane of the woods, of the forest that you can see, he knew where to go. And he told me, many times people think that they just go straight into the woods. No, what they do, they'll go into the woods and they'll take a hard right or a hard left, and you got to read the tracks. The tracks will tell you. And then when you're going and you take that hard right, you can just, instead of reading the tracks, then you just look up and you see the path through the woods. And if you know how to read the woods, then it's very, very apparent to you, just like a trail or a road map. And he's tracking, and then when he loses and things open up again, he'll look back down, and sure enough, there's the track right there. And the whole time he's running. And after a while, we'll stop. And he'll go, there it is right there. There it is right there. And that deer will usually be looking back, going, who is that? Who is that that's watching me? Who is that who knows the forest so well that they can follow me and chase me down? Who is that? And oftentimes too, it's just like what he'll do is it's not about the hunt, but it's about the chase, about the tracking. And as that deer looks back at him, asking him who he is, he will introduce himself. And again, that's one of the things about learn how to introduce yourself. And it's not introducing yourself to another human being, but it's introducing yourself to the trees, the land, the animals. And that is a traditional thing. Our native people would say, thank you for showing yourself. And this is who I am. So he would introduce himself, not by words, but just the feeling. He knew he was to that being. And sometimes he would let that being just go on because it was that acknowledgement. We don't need that one right now. But wasn't it fun chasing it? Wasn't it fun running after it? Wasn't it fun just stepping into his world, jumping over the logs underneath, and just running through the brush? Wasn't that just fun? But his awareness is so keen. He knows how to read the forest. He can't read a book, but he can read the forest. But tracking. And that tracking, it's always, I love tracking. Because not only am I out there in the woods looking, but also tracking myself. Because when you're tracking, you're always asking that question, who? Who is that? What? When? Where? Why and how? Because all about tracking is always asking the question, always asking the question, who, what, where, when, why, how, what's going on here? Even with myself, I just received it. My back's kind of hurting with me. And so even with this hurt and this pain that's going on behind me in my back, my lower back, so how did this happen? When did it happen? Where did it happen? How did it happen? And why did it even happen? And it was a lot of it too is like just, it helps me explain, but it also helps me like come up with a solution to this pain in my lower back, which I did when I was riding my bike, mountain biking on the trail. Hit a log, back tire slipped out, twisted, but I'm also asking the question, tracking, how can I heal? How can I heal myself? What do I need to do to heal myself? And part of that healing for me too is like as the core routine is just going out. I need to go to the water. I need to go to the cold water. And I need to get back to that. I need to get in that water. And I know if I get into that cold water, it'll help my whole system, but plus it'll also help my back. What I've determined too is probably pinching a nerve in my back. And so I just need to heal that and take care of myself. But tracking. I love looking at the tracks of animals. And not only that, you can follow, if you take a look at the birds. Birds have their own paths, their own trails. Birds have their own routes through the air. They have trails through the air. And if you watch and you get to know the birds, they're like clans. There's the crows, but each crow has their own clans too, and each clan will take this route, and another one will take this route because that's what they were taught. So even in the birds, you can follow and track them, and even with the whales when they go up, you can follow them. You can follow their track them. But out in the woods. But that's all about seeing the world like this. Seeing the world instead of like this, seeing the world and going out like this. And I want to encourage you to step outside your door. Nature is out there. And nature is the healer. Nature is the healer. And again, we've gotten so disconnected from nature. So part of it, again, the core routines I've talked about, it's the sit spot, expanding our senses, questioning and tracking, the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And not only tracking the tracks outside, but also tracking what's going on with us. I work with other people, so I'm always tracking, them, what's going on with them. Taking on animal forms. Again, like our Tlingit people, we take on those forms, practice because they're our elders. Stepping into their form and then looking at yourself through their eyes. Mapping out the area that you're at. Teach your kids about mapping out the area, the landscape, so that they're familiar with the landscape and the lay of the land, what's going on. So many of our kids, when I was growing up, we could be 10 miles in any direction around the house and our parents wouldn't care because, we were with our friends, but we knew how to get around. And so there's like, being thankful, looking through the mind's eye. And another thing too, I really want to encourage with that nature connection too, is, that one who tracks, tells stories that I just told you about, but talking to our elders. Talking to our elders and sitting with our elders. And part of our elders, I want to share this to you too, is, some of you are like, what? Is doing a little research, man. Knowledge is right here. I look up these things, birds. I carry these. I'll see a bird. I'll be asking my wife, going, "Where's that book? Where's our book? I want to check it out." But take a look. If you see something, find out about it. We had these house finches. They nested in our front. Two nests in the front and one in the back. So we observed them during this pandemic. And I was looking in this book all the time because but a lot of information. But sit with our elders. Sit with the elders. And basically what I've been doing too is there's part of the core routines as well is it's called Story of the Day. Sit with yourself if you don't have anyone else to talk to. And just share, hey, I saw this here bird today. I had a blackhead, had a cool song. It was only about this big, and man, there was a bunch of them. It was like as if they were a family, or I was out there and this here deer was looking at me. It was like really cool, and it was like looked like that little like horns were coming up. But sharing the story and how it affects you, I saw through the eyes of the hawk. I was looking down at myself. I looked down at our house. I looked down at our area, and this is what I saw. To share your experience and to share your story and get used to sharing your story. It's one of those things when I go out to the trees, out to the woods. There's some places out there where I've known really well, and then I'm away from it for a while, and then when I come back, it's as if the trees themselves are going, it's good to see you. We've missed you. We've missed you. How have you been? And I live right next to this park, and I pass by these here specific trees, and I'm connected to these trees for some reason. And I always when I go by them, I always just say thank you. Or Gunachish, I hold my hands up, thank you. My teacher, my ancestor, my elder, thank you. And I know they acknowledge me back. And I know that they're telling stories amongst each other. Oh, look at that one right there. Oh, he sees us. That one right there, he sees us. That one right there, he acknowledges us. That one right there, he shares his love with us. You see, the forest and nature, that's our healers. That's our elders. We need to get connected with them again. They've been waiting for us. And all we have to do is just step outside and listen. All we have to do is just step outside and just feel and just be. And again, see the world like this. And see in between the houses. See in between the buildings. And see the tree that you've noticed. Where does that tree come from? It's been there for forever since where's that tree? I just noticed that tree. See them. They've been waiting. They've been waiting for you. And your ancestors too will be going, there they are. There they are. Nature connection. Connect with it. We're not separate from it. So, man, thank you all. I'm just, time. Like my uncle says, time just goes by so fast. Sometimes time just goes by so slow. Either way, time always going by. So make the most of it. So, with this short time that I've been with you here on this Native Wellness Power Hour, I hope I've made the most of it. Just sharing just my passion for nature and connecting with nature and getting into a routine for yourself and healing. So my name is Gene Tagaban. I'm with the Native Wellness Institute, and this is our Power Hour. take a look online, nativewellness.com. We have other trainings coming up, teachings, and it's all about healing. And we're honored to be here, to do what we can for our community, to be in service to the people. And so I just want to say thank you, my brothers and sisters, my relatives. My love goes out to you. Konnichiwa.